Hey, I'm Command Sergeant Major Shawn Carns, the 1st Corps Command Sergeant Major, and welcome to another episode of Connect First. And I have the great honor to have Colonel Meghann Sullivan from 5th SFAB, the first female battalion commander in an SFAB. So, thank you very much, ma'am, for coming on here and for allowing us to discuss about NCO and officer relationship to include command team relationships. So ma'am, please introduce yourself, and then we'll get into our discussion about the relationships between the officer and NCO Corps.
All right. Hey, thank you so much, Sergeant Major. It's an honor for me to be here from the Philippines. I'm so glad that we could get this to work. This is exceptional. A little bit about myself. So, Colonel Meghann Sullivan. I'm the commander of 5th SFAB, 5th Battalion, 5th SFAB. Been in the Army a little over 22 years. Started off as a platoon leader, engineer platoon leader at Fort Bragg. Where the division is. I know some people like to say 101st, but I'm an airborne person. So spent a lot of time at Fort Bragg. Have a lot of diverse, experience as far as engineer goes. Worked in prime power, the Corps of Engineers, worked with SOF, deployed with them when I was a major in Afghanistan. And then also spent some time in Iraq and doing disaster relief operations. My last command, I was at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. So I commanded the Engineer One Station Unit Training Battalion there. So making 12 Bravos and 12 Charlies, sappers and bridge crew members for the Army. And then now I've had the pleasure of being at JBLM and working with 5th SFAB in the Indo-PACOM AOR, and it's just been an exceptional experience.
Well, awesome, and thank you very much for that great introduction, and thank you very much for coming on this episode of Connect First. So as I introduced about the NCO and officer relationship and command team relationship, and we were just having a discussion a minute ago about how, when you first come in as a platoon leader, that you're, relying a lot on your platoon sergeant to assist you. And then, but as you've grown, it's become more of a team as you go along. Can you, expand on that a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. So like I was saying, when I was, 22-year-old second lieutenant, get to Fort Bragg, and, you become a platoon leader, you don't know anything. I think, I was at college, right? And so you're just taking care of yourself, trying to make sure that your classes are done and you're not failing, right? But then you're thrust into this leadership role, and you have a battle buddy, you have a partner in crime, but you're in charge of, at least I was in charge of about 60 people as a vertical construction platoon leader. And, trying to take care of people, take care of the team, and then execute training, safely and do all the things that you're supposed to do for your mission. Like, it's a big leap, I think, for a young person. So my platoon sergeant, I had a couple different platoon sergeants, but they were exceptional. Really, I think they were mentors and coaches for me. Just because when I first started, I really didn't know, like you kind of know, you want to try to do the right thing and take care of people, but they have the experience with running the ranges, with knowing where everything is, what equipment, inventories, different things like that. So really it was a really good partnership, but I think it's more like mentor coach, and like advisor. And then as you continue on, when you're a company commander, it's the same thing. It's still probably mentor coach relationship. And then I think the, first sergeant is able to work with the sergeant major as like a liaison a little bit, trying to feel stuff out. Hey, my commander's trying to wants to do this. What do you think the boss will say, right? So use them as that liaison to feel things out so you can make decisions. And then as a battalion commander, again, I think it's 100%. It's more of the shift to it's the team, it's the partner, it's the advisor. Still, like, the mentorship and teaching is there because everybody has different experiences, right? But it's definitely a partnership, and you work together, have the mutual trust and respect, and you're both making decisions, to make the organization successful, right? And do the right thing to take care of your team. I completely trust my sergeant major, that he's going to make the right decision. He says something, it goes, and the same for me. So I think it's a great relationship. And again, I've been lucky that I've had, 4 exceptional, command sergeant majors as the battalion commander in the last 4 years.
Yeah, and you said, 2 words. One word I use quite often is relationship, and we've used it in introduction. But then you also said partnership, and they kind of tie together, especially that relationship piece, right? And as you said, you're coming from college as a brand new platoon leader. Platoon sergeant, more than likely anywhere from 8 to 12 years in the military, give or take, depending on MOS. I was 10 years in the military when I made E7, and I was a platoon sergeant with the new platoon leader. So we do have some of that experience. But and it goes both ways, because at that time when you become a platoon sergeant, before that you're kind of taking the directions from the platoon sergeant, taking the direction from platoon leader. Now you are that platoon sergeant, and you have to form that partnership with that officer. And, and then that ties back into relationship. And I say it all the time. I think, relationship is personal and professional, right? Now, I'm not saying we're hanging out together all the time, or you're hanging out with your privates all the time. But I know you personally, like, you're married, you have kids, where you live, you have dogs, you have cats, what do you like to do, things like that, right? And then professionally, I know you because I know your goals, I know your weaknesses, I know your strengths, and it goes both ways, because I build a relationship with you that's going to help the partnership, because we're helping each other. Because believe it or not, even as a platoon sergeant, we have some weaknesses where the platoon leader, even though just coming from college, has the strengths to form that partnership to help each other out. So, I might have a weakness where you have that strength that helps balance me out, just like you might have a weakness to where I have, the strength, and we balance each other out. And that's how you form that great command team relationship, even as a platoon leader, platoon sergeant, and then a first sergeant and company commander.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Understanding the strengths and weaknesses of each other, and then having that relationship. Again, I think I've been really lucky. I have been friends, been very friendly, with my first sergeant, with my platoon sergeants, and then my command sergeant majors. Like you said, not like we go out and hang out all the time, but like I've met their family, I know about their kids, I'm following them on Facebook, and get excited for them when, the daughter or son gets accepted to college or wins an award, all of that stuff. But it's like a marriage, right? Like you spend so much time with somebody at the office, and so it's just understanding what each other's good at. And then like 100%, like I know how to push my sergeant major's buttons or my first sergeant's buttons, but they know how to do it to me too, and they want to see something out of me. But, understanding strengths and weaknesses, is only going to make the team stronger, right? Understanding what each other is good at, and then what each other is not good at, so that, one can step up when you need to, and support each other out, and just showing that team and that cohesion, like in front of your formation, in front of your team, in front of your battalion or your company. I'm like, that's going to just build the morale and build the cohesion as well when you showed that shared front.
Wow. Yeah. And the interesting piece, what you said about pushing each other's buttons, that is huge right there. That means to me that you understand that relationship piece. I mean, that's just powerful when I heard that, because that also makes me feel comfortable to come in your office and sit down and have them honest conversations. And sometimes it might, because we also don't train a lot on how to deal with conflict, right? So, I can come in and sit down and we can have them open discussions. And I trust you that, I might have a problem and I can come and talk to you and get it off my shoulders, because we know each other. We formed that relationship together, right? So it's important that I'm able to come into your office, close the door and us having them open discussions, whether I'm trying to get something off my shoulders, you're trying to get something off your shoulders to me, right? Open discussion. Or maybe, hey ma'am, I know that what you're looking to do, we might want to do it this way instead, right? Because that's difficult sometimes to have them conflict discussions. But if you have that good relationship and we're comfortable together, we trust each other, we can be authentic among each other, then it makes it easier to have them conflict conversations.
100%, Sergeant Major. And, and it doesn't just happen, let me be clear about that, like it takes work, right? And no, I mean, I give you an example, right. Like me and my current Sergeant Major, I had one for about 6 months and then he switched out, and my new Sergeant Major, exceptional NCO. But, you have to learn each other, right? So you're not communicating as well sometimes at the beginning, the first few months. And just exactly like you said, he's talking to some other people, the XO, trying to be like, hey, I need to talk to the boss about this, how do I do it? And, and then the same thing for me, you have to have those conversations, like informal counseling, whatever. And you talk about how you like to receive information, and how you want to communicate, and for me, I think sometimes I can make pretty quick decisions and I'm loud and I talk a lot. And, for him, I kind of said, hey, I need you to just grab me and tell me, if you don't agree, if I'm steering the wrong way, just pull me in the office and be like, hey, can we talk? I go, I'm not going to get offended because I know that everything that you're doing, you're advising me so that we can do the best thing for our people and our team, and for the mission. So, I think I have a pretty quick, thick skin, but, at the same time, I think everybody, don't like to hear bad things, right? And so, but you have to have that relationship and trust that, again, the Sergeant Major is your advisor, your confidant, your friend. And, you have to be able to talk about stuff openly and be able to kind of vent, right, to each other too, because yes. You can't exactly do that to your subordinates, right? But you have to have that open communication and trust, otherwise, you're just not going to be successful.
Agree, 100%. And, you said something interesting was grab you, right? Because General Brunson's that way. He said, hey, if you need to talk to me sometimes, just grab me. Because you're all very busy, right? Mm-hmm. Because you have that vision and you're looking out. And the NCOs are ones grabbing the soldiers and the rest of the formation to make sure to follow your vision. So sometimes, we just have to grab a hold of you because you're going, and which is a good thing, right? So I think that was very important. And you also said about getting to know each other, and it takes that time because you have different people. Like you're very extroverted. I'm very extroverted. Some people are introverted. Some people don't like talking a lot. And you have to figure that out among each other. So then you know how to communicate to each other. Because again, someone introverted might be harder for me and you to communicate with them because we might offend them because we might talk too much, or we might be a little forceful. Even though we're not trying to be, it's just our character. But we got to understand them, and that's where that communication and time, because it takes time to understand that, to figure out, hey, how do we communicate? When do we communicate? How often do we communicate? And then see each other, like you said, hey, just grab me, right? It's very important to put them out to each other so you know each other and how to be able to do that formal and informal communication.
Yeah, no, it's imperative, Sergeant Major. I think my current Sergeant Major has been very good at giving me feedback, I think, and not to say pointing out bad things I do, that's not, but reflecting on interactions, like you said. I think I am an extrovert and I'm loud and I'm just kind of in your face sometimes. And, he's like, hey, make sure you're, some people aren't used to you, especially when you get new and different people in the formation, right? So it's also having me understand, that not everybody is like me. My Sergeant Major is definitely not. He's more of the introvert, so it is good to have that conversation and then just reflect, because he has a different perception. He's looking at things out of a different lens than me sometimes. And it's great, because then it helps you see the whole picture, right? Because you might have a blind spot.
Oh man. And so there's a good point too, is blind spots or even biases, right? That you might not see, and that's where that relationship is, that I'm able to communicate to you and say, hey ma'am, you might not see this, but this is some things you're doing, right? Or even something, it don't need to be bad, it can be good too. Hey, you're doing a good job over here, right? So I think it's also important that sometimes we don't do it as often as we should, is, as we talk about the talent management, I think we also have to celebrate talent once in a while, pat people on the back. Now, I'm not saying everyone gets an award, and that goes for that relationship. It's important to pat people on the back when they do something well, because then they know, okay, I did that good. And also have the open conversation when, hey, you're going down the wrong road, to be able to have that conversation. But we sometimes fail to pat people on the back. Again, I'm not saying everyone gets an award, but it's good to celebrate the talent. And that goes also with that relationship, right? It's okay to smile. It's okay to laugh. Mm-hmm. It's okay to have fun together, because it relaxes us, right? Because, when we first meet each other, the defenses are up, always, right? Okay, mm-hmm. How is he or she, right? And then as time goes along, then defenses going down, because then we form that relationship among each other, because we're getting used to each other. We know how to communicate each other. But at the beginning, the defenses are up. So how do we get them defenses down? Again, laughing, smiling, having fun together, relaxing together, having them open conversations helps get that defense down, to be able to form that relationship that forms that trust, right? Mm-hmm. And that inspiration, that commitment among that command team.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's just super important, to have that and be vulnerable, right? Like be able to talk freely to each other, and I'll be honest, like you get new platoon sergeants, you get new sergeant majors, right? It's the Army is small, even though it's so big. I know people who knew him before he was coming to the unit. That's another thing that you do, right? Is that you reach out to your trusted advisors and try to get some intel on the people that are coming in. I know that mine have done that too, because you're trying to get some understanding, of like what you're walking into. Like, what am I walking into? Am I going to be able to work with this person, get along with them, and build that relationship? Are they similar to me? Are they not similar to me? Did they grow up like me? And I think, understanding all of those kind of things, it does make a difference when you're trying to build that team and build that relationship.
100%. And that was a little bit difficult when me and you were coming up. We didn't have all these computers. We didn't have all this social media, right? So the first time you learned about somebody was when him or her was there. And I did not do a good job with my first platoon leader. I made mistakes, and he probably made some mistakes. My problem was both of us were, A-type personality. Both of us wanted to take charge. And I didn't quite, I wanted, to be out in front, but understand sometimes, I got to step back, because the platoon leader is the one should be given that guidance, where I am supporting that decision. I didn't quite understand that, which really helped me. Once I got past that, we had some conversations. That was a little difficult for me. Again, being an A-type personality, when we had them conversations, because I had a blind spot that I didn't see. And so when he brought that up, and I self-reflected a little bit, and understood that really helped me when I became a first sergeant, and with my company commander, to understand that, hey, I need to understand what his or her priorities are, and then support them priorities. Now, I have some influence on his priorities or her priorities if I think they might be off from where the battalion or brigade's going, but I've got to understand how to take them priorities, support them, and get them down to the rest enlisted. So again, we were following behind that company commander, that platoon leader, on the right direction. So I had to learn. I didn't do it right at the beginning, so I made some mistakes myself.
Oh, I was 22. I was not the best platoon leader. Okay. I think my platoon sergeant was more like the shadow governor sometimes, right? I mean, the NCOs make stuff happen. Like that's the truth, right? That they were the ones, my platoon sergeant one getting the squad leaders and doing all the things behind the scenes. Again, like you're young and you don't know everything. You're new to the Army, doing maintenance. You're like, what is this form I have to fill out? I don't know how to do this, right? Like I barely check my own oil, as a 22-year-old. I take it to the store, right? So it taught me a lot. And really, but building that trust was super important. And I think, again, relationships evolve over time. But he was probably more the leader, truthfully, like at the beginning. And exactly what you said, like helping me understand that I needed to prioritize, understanding what the company commander wanted us to do. And then again, as I got my feet under me, platoon leader for about a year, a little over a year, I think I was coming into my own closer to the end, but it was him who helped prop me up and get me there.
Oh, amen. And so that's where, as you said, about a year in, and then understanding to let you go and me step back. That's where I had the problem. And I didn't see it until, we had a little conflict. We had some discussions, and I had to self-reflect a little bit to understand, okay, he or she got it now. Now I've got to step back, still continue to help, but let you go. I wanted to still be up there in the front, and I had to understand to step back a little bit to let you flourish, to go forward. And that was my problem. And so I'm happy your platoon sergeant, understood that and let you flourish, where I didn't quite get that. And so after, like you said, some conflict and some discussions, then I understood it, right? Again, which really helped me out become a better first sergeant, which helped me out become a better battalion sergeant major. Because as we were talking about, you have gotten better and developed and more knowledge as you went along. So when now that you're a battalion commander, I mean, you've had that experience of being platoon leader, company commander, probably some S3 and XO time at a battalion, but now you're the battalion commander, and a lot more knowledge and understanding of what them priorities are, of what a vision looks like, and where an organization is going, able to put that information out than when you were that 22-year-old.
Yeah, no, definitely. But I think it's still important that, you have that relationship with the SAR major, and that you're not just creating shared understanding, between him and you, and like you guys are putting out the vision, but, communicating to everybody, to the entire formation. I think that's, something that happens, and it's happened in my battalion, is, not communicating effectively, all the way down to the lowest level, so that everybody understands, understanding what's going to be happening in the next couple of weeks, the long range training calendar, why we have to do something or why there's a change. And so just working together to make sure that we're both messaging the same way and creating that understanding across our formation, as well.
Yeah, and going that relationship piece where one thing that I learned is, being a first sergeant and then being a battalion sergeant major, brigade sergeant major, is being that arm and that reach for the commander. Because again, you're all doing a lot of stuff, vision, looking forward, and where we going, to where I'm able to go down, as you said, about getting that communication down to the lowest level. That's one thing that I always try to do. Once me and the commander put something out, me going down, being that arm for the commander and being able to make sure that was getting disseminated properly and everyone understood it, not taking their own perception of what was said, but to make sure it was put out from what me and you've talked about and from what we put out, to getting that down to the lowest level and everyone perceived it and understood it clearly.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I definitely use my sergeant major definitely does that. Exactly what you said, though, as far as like time and different things, trying to focus up and out, as we do. And then, same thing, the sergeant major able to have a little bit more time to walk around. I mean, here right now, I'm in the Philippines, doing the C2 node for all of our teams here in Indo-PACOM. But my sergeant major has been able to do like battlefield, I don't want to call it not battlefield circulation, but AOR circulation, right? Going around visiting the teams, checking on the training, seeing how their relationships are with the partners, making sure that, people are doing the right thing, enforcing standards and discipline. But he's able to continue and go and be that person who is, spreading the message, building morale, while we're back here kind of doing the C2 piece of everything. So I think we're talking about like roles and responsibilities and then divide and conquer kind of, I think, it's understanding, like you said, strengths and weaknesses, and then what each other, the value of splitting up versus staying together sometimes so that you can build a team.
Oh, and so that's a very good point to, what's that communication on, hey, when we need to be together and when we need to divide and conquer. That's very important to understand that and talk to among each other for that command team relationship. Hey, we need to be together at this because, to speak one voice, whatever it is, to, hey, divide and conquer. And it kind of goes along with is that divide and conquer. Whereas commanders, sometimes you're looking up a lot more than we do. We look down and in. Now, don't get me wrong, as you continue to go up as a non-commissioned officer, you start looking up more, but it's very important that you continue to look down as that non-commissioned officer to make sure that message is getting spread. And, as you said about the morale and welfare, hey, I'm going down and being present among the formation to find out what's going on, right? So I'm getting developed on what's going on in the formation. They're getting developed because I'm down among them, seeing what's going on. How can I help their problems? Then I'm able to either solve them problems or I'm able to come back and me and you have a discussion. Hey, ma'am, hey, there's some things going down in the formation. I think, I need your help. Or, hey, both of us need to go down and address this to try to fix it. Because maybe it's a commander to commander talk that needs to happen if me as that sergeant major is not able to handle it with the formation.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's 100% the sergeant major, just being able to circulate and just talk to everybody. I think, again, as a leader, being engaged and just talking to people, that's how you find things out, right? I mean, that's how you build the trust with your team, and people come to you with their problems or ask for help with things, or they just in general are open up to you more and you get to know your team better, right? But him being able to circulate has been extremely helpful. Again, like understanding the environment in some of our different countries, with the different partners, with the challenges that the team is having, personally, professionally, and then just understanding what we can do or what he can do to help set them up for success for their job or for the future, for when we go back to JBLM and what they need to do in order to set them up for success for their next job.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so that's even more to have a stronger relationship on all the different exercises we do in all the different with our allied partners in different countries, right? So you really need to have that relationship because believe me, a formation will see it. If the relationship between that commander and sergeant major, commander and first sergeant is not tight, believe me, they see it. You can keep it or try to keep it as shuttered as possible. They know, right? Because when I was a battalion sergeant major, me and the commander didn't have the greatest relationship, and we did a great job to keep our organization going forward. But in the future, whenever I talk to some of them, they're like, "Yeah, we knew you were having problems." They see it, they know it, right? But we were able to keep it going without it. Again, part of my fault. Both of us, making some mistakes that you continue to grow because no one's perfect. But, it's very important for that command relationship with all the different exercises we do and all the moving around. So you're not always at JBLM, you're at different countries. And so that's, again, where maybe we have to divide and conquer because we're over here and we're over here. So, hey, which one of us are going to be in each one to make sure our formations are doing the right things?
Yep. And just communication, right? Like even when we're traveling, we try to talk every day. That's not always possible, but the continuous communication as well, just so that we're kind of leveling the bubbles between each other, that's important.
Yeah, most definitely. And setting that up, as you said about that initial counseling, initial discussion, hey, let us sit down and talk daily. And maybe, it's weekly, whatever's comfortable for that command team, right? But you got to set that up to have them conversations a minimum once a week. I like what you do. Every single day I like sitting down and talking to the commander, to having a discussion, just see what's going on, bounce things off each other, make sure I'm going in the right direction. Because sometimes, I'll get off going left and right too, right? And then we figure out, hey, I'm looking to go here. Does that make sense? Well, maybe we should go here. You're having that discussion daily so it don't go too far off left, and then we have to then really anchor and try to go right. Instead, we're catching it early. Let's go this direction instead of going left. Or, hey, I'm going to look at doing this. Well, some major, maybe you want to do this instead, right? So we're helping each other out so we don't get too far off of left and right of what each other's thinking or the priorities where we're going toward.
Mm-hmm. Yep, 100%. Agree.
Hey, so ma'am, thank you very much for coming on Connect First and discussing command team relationships and NCO relationships. Because I think it's just very important that, number one thing, neither one of us learn. We learn it by experience and by doing it. And we all make mistakes. It's about, continue to learn from it. If you make a mistake happens. Learn from it. It's in the past. It happened. There's nothing you can do. How are you fixing yourself to get better, to become a better non-commissioned officer, or even become a better officer? So I'll open it up to you for closing comments.
No, I think we've talked about it a lot, but, building that relationship, being able to have that open, honest communication, build that trust, like we talked about, we're not all perfect. We need somebody sometimes to keep us in check, to point things out that we're doing, maybe we're not as successful at, or point out things like you said that you are doing well. Because again, sometimes we all need, someone to pump you up too, because it's like you feel like you're not winning at everything that you're doing, but you need to have that battle buddy that's telling you that, yes, you're doing what I need you to do, you're doing the right thing, and I appreciate you. And again, it's a marriage. You're in it for the long term. It's not going to be, it's not going to be great every single day, right? But it's not horrible at all, right? So it's just working together to understand each other, and how to make each other better at the end of the day. And that's really going to benefit your organization and your team.
Oh, man. Again, thank you very much, ma'am, for coming on here and continue to kick butt over there in the Philippines.
All right. Thanks, Stephanie.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to Connect First podcast, where we discuss leadership at its core. You can find Connect First on all your major podcast streaming platforms. Follow First Corps on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for information on upcoming episodes, as well as all things First Corps. Rate, review, and subscribe to us on YouTube and click that notification bell so you'll know exactly when we drop a new episode. Until next time.